Hi, folks. The Filipina here. And today I'd like to discuss a topic that eventually crosses almost every man's mind. Is your partner cheating? Will she cheat in the future? How can you predict it? And most importantly, why does she cheat? You might think the reasons are obvious and that all women are unfaithful for the exact same reasons. But when it comes to Filipinas, there are some factors at play that make it a different ballgame. And it's my job to get you the playbook. Now, of course, I'm certainly not implying that all Filipinas are cheaters. There are many long-term partnerships that go the distance, and I'm sure you'll hear from a lot of guys in the comment section that have found the faithful woman of their dreams, even after 20 or 30 years. But as I've mentioned before, sometimes there's a lot of dishonesty and duplicity in the relationships here too. In this culture, the truth can be rather fluid, and it's almost expected that people aren't going to be completely open and honest with each other. Most of you guys were brought up with the notion that being 100% transparent was a prerequisite to a healthy relationship. But that's not necessarily the case here. We tend to hide the things you don't want to hear, not necessarily in an evil sort of manipulative way, but as a means of keeping peace in a relationship. If a Filipina's friend says something bad about you, don't expect her to come rushing to you with a full account of what was said, because that might be an uncomfortable conversation, and discomfort is something we tend to avoid. If her partner's old boyfriend contacts her, the same rules apply, and she often won't tell you about it for fear of creating an uncomfortable situation, so she's liable to keep it to herself. You guys are taught that it's a good thing to divulge your innermost feelings and desires, and that the more you reveal, the closer you'll be to your partner. But we're taught to hold things back, at least the negative stuff, because if you know all the bad things, we think you won't want us, which is why we often deny having kids that we've sent away to live with our relatives. In our way of thinking, we don't want to rock the boat, because if we do, we might end up sinking it. In your way of thinking, being upfront and honest is the best way to keep the boat from capsizing, which is a totally different style for us. These two approaches don't work very well together, especially when both of you assume you're playing by the same rules. Now, when it comes to cheating, I'm not saying that Filipinas will be unfaithful and think it's okay not to mention it. Of course, we know cheating is wrong. But what I'm pointing out is that you can never assume you know the whole story unless you really dig for it, because we tend to keep a lot of things to ourselves. Now, when it comes to whether or not your Filipina is actually cheating, the question will often trigger an immediate response from you guys, like, of course she's cheating. They all cheat. Or, I don't care if she does cheat. She knows I can replace her in a skinny minute at the first sign of any monkey business. So I'll just kick her to the curb and find another Filipina before the sun goes down. As harsh as it sounds, I hear that kind of stuff all the time, and it's true. You can do that here. It's simple supply and demand. But if that's really your attitude, then you're probably not emotionally invested in the relationship. And if she ever hears you say any of those things, she'll know you're not. If she feels like an interchangeable Lego, she might start making a plan B, and you'll end up with a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, I understand that a lot of you might not be looking for a permanent partner. And if she turns out to be a cheater, it's no big deal. Just throw her back in the pond and get another one. But I'm gonna assume you're watching this video because you do care, that you'd like to know the strength of your relationship and the reasons she might stray. And here's where we circle around to what I started with. The Filipinas can be very hard to read, and we hold certain things back. You hear the words we say and how quickly we tell you we love you, but it can happen so fast that it just doesn't smell right. In your world, love is a word that's used to describe the ultimate goal in a relationship, not just something you throw out there after saying hello. When it's used too quickly and too frequently, it feels a little generic and manufactured, and you might get the feeling that something's off. Maybe it's because we don't know enough English words to communicate our feelings in greater detail, but you can already tell that you're not on the same page, at least not yet. and that reading us isn't going to be easy. Sometimes when you look into our eyes, you really have no clue what's going on behind them. Part of that is just a gender thing, but an even bigger part of it is cultural. And as I said before, Filipinos don't often say what we're thinking, especially when it comes to the stuff that really matters. Honest communication just isn't one of our strong points, and we don't seem to know how to really open up the way women from other cultures do. And if there's a problem or a complaint about something important, chances are we'll just get really quiet and sit there in silence and deny that anything's bothering us. Now, that's definitely not all Filipinas, and I'm sure you've met plenty of exceptions, but I have to generalize so I can explain the big picture, which is this. If a Filipino is uncomfortable discussing emotional issues and her deepest feelings, how can you possibly know what she really thinks about you and your relationship? Does it mean the same thing to her as it does to you? Or are you the one that's the interchangeable Lego? Could you be investing all your time and emotion in a woman who's not in it for the same reasons? Someone who ultimately cheat and bring the whole thing crashing down. Well, to answer that, you have to look at things honestly and try to look at things from her perspective to figure out why she's with you. Did you lead with your wallet and now she sees you as a meal ticket? Are you a step up in status and she's getting pressure from her family to find someone like you? Is she constantly talking about how she could get a good job in the West and you get the feeling that you're a means to an end, with the end being a green card? Are you just her best option at the moment? Or is she actually passionate about you and genuinely wants to spend the rest of her life together? Now, these things aren't mutually exclusive. She might be getting many of her needs met with you. And generally speaking, the more boxes you tick for her, the less likely she'll be to cheat. But here's where some guys make a big mistake and see things backwards. You might think that if she's impoverished, she'll never leave you because you're her savior. And although it might work out that way, if she got with you for purely economic reasons, there's a good chance that she'll always be looking to trade up if she can. And cheating won't be a big deal for her because she doesn't really love you in the first place. She might even have a local boyfriend or husband, and she's only with you for as long as it makes the world a better place for her. And she only fears getting caught because of what it might mean to her living situation. As the months and years pass by, she'll even lose that fear. She'll learn how much latitude she has with things like money and freedom. And if she gets a chance to swing to a better branch, she will, with no emotion involved. That's why using your wealth advantage as leverage and talking about how much money you have is a really bad idea, especially in the beginning. It may get her in the door, but it does nothing to ensure that she won't sneak out a window later on. If you lead with your wallet and then bring her back to the West, you might be amazed at how fast she finds someone else that offers an even better deal. Once again, I'm not saying that all Filipinas are like this, but if she's only with you because you solve her financial worries, there's always gonna be someone who does it even better once she gets to the West. But is that really what it all boils down to? Money? No, it doesn't. And like I said, Filipinas have a different set of issues. And if you understand what they are, you can predict their behavior. Western women are likely to cheat for sexual thrills or to alleviate boredom. They might also cheat in order to start a more beneficial relationship. But it's just as likely that they're looking for validation and a little excitement. This is not true with most Filipinas. And although many of you guys are going to disagree with what I'm about to say, I've talked with a ton of women about why they do what they do. And I know how Filipinas think. Now, while there are certainly Filipinos who cheat in order to pursue higher value targets, the primary reason isn't for sexual thrills or money. We mainly do it as a means of not ending up alone, especially if we think we don't measure up in the eyes of our mate. We sometimes leave a little door open on the side for when you eventually leave us, which a lot of us are sure you will, once you realize you can do so much better than us. We know the math of supply and demand too. And even if you don't make us feel this way, we know that in our culture, we're very expendable. Promises of love are very cheap here, and men disappear in a puff of smoke. It all comes back to the insecurity of the average Filipina. A lot of us don't understand what you see in us in the first place. And we assume that, like everything else that's good in our lives, you'll end up leaving too. Once you realize you can have a younger, cuter Filipina anytime you want one. Because for many of us, that's been the reality. It might sound crazy to you that a Filipino who's worried about your leaving her might actually decide that the best course of action is to have a relationship on the side. But it's often so that she'll have someplace to go once the party with you is over. All too often, we feel like the sand is constantly shifting under our feet, and preemptive cheating is the way to ensure a softer landing. We even have a common phrase here that every Filipino knows. Huwag magmahal ng lubusan, magtira para sa sarili. Which means, don't love someone 100%. Always keep some for yourself so you'll be okay when he leaves. It's even a song on the radio here, and my mother always told me the same thing ever since I was a little girl. Personally, I think that's a horrible philosophy. You should give 100% of yourself in order to get 100%. And telling people not to love each other completely so they won't be destroyed when things go wrong is just setting them up for failure. So the thing you guys need to understand is that Filipinos are conditioned from birth to protect ourselves from heartbreak and told not to love you too much. I know it sounds counterproductive and self-destructive, but this is the kind of thing I'm here to help warn you about. And there's something you should avoid doing that makes it even worse. Everyone knows that Filipinas are naturally jealous, so don't ever pour gasoline on the fire, even if you're just teasing. Purposely making your Filipina jealous to show her you have other options will backfire in a spectacular way and make her think that she's on shaky ground. If you make a habit of doing it, your Filipino might decide that it's time to quietly look for a plan B. But if you're lucky, her reaction to jealousy will be easy to detect by the fact that she won't let you go anywhere alone, and she carefully monitors how you interact with other women. I know it sounds immature, but if your Filipina refuses to even let you go to the grocery store by yourself, at least it means she values you to the point where she's maid guarding and won't let you out of her sight. She's aware of all the potential threats out there from other hungry Filipinas, and she's determined to be the only woman you look at. It can either be flattering or annoying, but it's a good sign she's not looking anywhere else. So if you can stand it, just give in to the fact that you now have a 24/7 bodyguard. By contrast, if you're looking for a sign that she's cheating on you, the most reliable indicator is a reduction in her communications. Not only will she stop maid guarding, but she'll stop texting you every 5 minutes. And sometimes she'll even go silent for long periods of time. It's not 100% accurate, and it might just be the natural result of being in a long-term relationship that feels secure. But watch out for that telltale sign if you think she's looking elsewhere, because a Filipina who's in love will not neglect her man. I know some of you folks, especially you guys that have repeatedly been burned, question whether a woman is even capable of faithful love. And I understand why you doubt it after a lifetime of betrayal. But the truth of the matter is that we definitely can. And the proof is all around you in the form of successful couples. If you find a Filipina that sees you as more than just a meal ticket, one that really does see you as a lifelong partner because of the way you treat her, then you've probably found a fiercely loyal woman that won't cheat on you, no matter what other options she has access to. On the other hand, trying to make a permanent relationship with a Filipina that you essentially bought by dangling your wallet in front of her might work in the short term. But all I can say to that is watch your back. Be honest with yourself about the way your relationship began and the reason behind it. And don't purposely make her jealous or insecure. We already come preloaded with plenty of that as a standard feature. Discuss the wag magmahal ng lubusan philosophy with your partner and see how she feels about it. she'll be impressed that you're even aware of it. You can let her know that you're not going anywhere and that you're not afraid to love her 100%. Well, that's it for this episode, and I'll be back on Friday with a visit to a place I bet you never seen. Till then, folks. Service Center, IT Department. Did you try turning her off and on again? Okay, what model is she? A Tampo 2000? Yeah, the Filipina series is kind of twitchy. What seems to be the problem? Oh no, sir, that's not an error. That's actually how they're programmed. When you even just look at another female bot, it activates their tempo routine. Did it just totally shut down for a few hours? Not a sound. Yep, that's what they're supposed to do. Just give it a while and she'll power up again. Anything else I can help you with? Taking cash out of your wallet when you're not looking? Well, we can try disabling the scamming subroutine, but that's usually hardwired into the newer models. Okay, it's obvious you're having a lot of trouble with your Filipina bot. Did you get the extended warranty? Yeah, I know, it's really expensive on that series. Well, maybe you just want to trade her in for a Western model. We're running a special right now on the blue-haired fembot, and one model in particular, the Karen 2023, is so cheap, they're practically giving it away. Sir? Hello? Hello? If you think about it, I'm kind of like a doctor, with my finger on the pulse of the Philippines. I can help to vaccinate you against all the problems you may encounter when visiting here, with an injection of information and humor. If you appreciate my services, feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell for your next dose of Dr. P. Consider becoming a patron, where you'll not only be supporting my channel, but you'll receive exclusive videos and features. Now, what seems to be the problem?
I got a stiff joint.
A stiff joint? All right, let's have a look. Oh my, you sure do. I think I better keep you here overnight for observation. And I got a great bedside manner.